The moon was breaking. Giant pieces of rock floated in space, drifting slowly away from the shattered surface. Fires still burned in the broken cities. Once, this moon had been home to the peaceful Alaran people. Now, only smoke and silence remained. In the center of a ruined tower, a young alien girl named Elia crawled through the rubble. Her body was weak, her arm bleeding, but her eyes were filled with fire. She held a small device, a silver cube with blinking red lights. Elia was the last hope of her people. Her father had told her, "If we fall, send the signal. Do not wait. Do not cry. Just send it." Now her family was gone. The Kratal Empire had made sure of that. Their ships came with fire and poison, their soldiers showing no mercy. The Alaran were not warriors. They were scientists, artists, builders of peace. They never stood a chance. Elia reached the control panel deep inside the tower. Dust fell from the ceiling as another explosion shook the ground. Time was running out. A Kratal patrol ship flew over the ruins, searching for survivors to finish off. With shaking hands, she placed the silver cube into the panel. The lights blinked faster. She whispered, "Please, let it work." Her father had built the beacon in secret. It was ancient, based on forbidden technology. The council had once banned it, saying the ones it could call were too dangerous, too violent. But her father believed in the stories. He believed in Deathworlders. They were not gods. They were not saviors. They were something else, something worse. According to legend, they came from a place called Earth, a world so harsh that even its plants could kill, a world where life had to fight every second to survive. Humans. Her father called them the last protectors, the ones who answered only once and left fear behind forever. Elia pressed the final button. A low hum filled the air. The beacon woke. Thin pulse of light shot into the sky. It passed through the clouds, escaped the broken moon, and vanished into space. The beacon had one job: to send a signal far across the galaxy. It didn't carry words. It carried memory. The pain of her people, the screams, the fire, the betrayal. Somewhere, deep in the dark, something would hear it, and it would remember. Far, above in orbit, the Kratal battleship Scourge Fang watched the signal escape. Commander Vaccine Rowe narrowed his eyes. "What was that?" he growled. His officer replied, "A transmission, sir. Unknown code. Very old frequency." Vaccine slammed, his fist on the console. "Where did it go?" "We don't know, but it's headed toward a dead sector. No active civilizations, coordinates that match an ancient file. Codename: Earth." Vaccine froze. That name was forbidden. He had only heard it once, as a cadet, whispered in fear. He forced a smile. "No such place exists anymore, just old war myths. We destroyed the Alaran, signal or not, it's over." But in the deepest part of space, past the silence, something had stirred. Light years away on a lonely asteroid base orbiting Earth, the signal reached its destination. An old computer lit up. Dust fell from the ceiling. Red warning lights blinked. Ancient machinery hummed for the first time in centuries. Deep within the rock, a vault door opened. A voice echoed through the chamber. "Reckoner protocol activated." Inside the vault stood a massive warship, black as the void. No name painted on it, no flag. Its hull was covered in strange, shifting metal, dark matter plating. The ship had no crew. It didn't need one. The humans who built it were long gone. But their message still lived, hidden in the signal. "If the last flame burns out, let our fire answer." Back on the broken moon, Elia watched the sky. The beacon had stopped blinking. She didn't know what would come. She didn't know if she had done the right thing. But deep in her heart she hoped. Not for safety, not for mercy, for justice. Then, she heard a sound. Low and deep, like the growl of a monster waking from sleep. The sky above her turned dark, and the stars blinked out. One by one. Elia smiled, even as the tower began to fall. "They're coming," she whispered. The signal had traveled for weeks. It passed dying stars, empty colonies, and forgotten battlefields. No one stopped it, no one understood it. Except for one place, Earth, once feared, once silent, now listening again. Beneath the cold mountains of Alaska, deep inside an old military base, something began to stir. For years the base had been quiet, covered in snow, hidden from the world. People said it was abandoned. They were wrong. In the heart of the mountain, a single red light blinked on an old screen. A soft voice echoed through the dark room. Incoming signal detected. Source: unknown. Level: critical. A man named Dr. Jonas Hale, a quiet scientist with gray hair and tired eyes, rushed into the command room. He stared at the screen. The signal looked ancient, but the energy behind it was powerful, too powerful to be a mistake. He pressed a button. Is it real? A younger woman, Lieutenant Mira Chen, looked at him. Sir, it matches the pattern. It's the Reckoner code. Someone activated it. Jonas stepped back. He hadn't heard that word in 20 years. Reckoner, a name given to something Earth had buried deep after the Great Silence. A system designed to activate only if one rule was broken. If a protected race is destroyed, retaliate. Far below the lab, huge machines came to life. Heavy doors opened with a roar. Old lights flickered on. At the center of the underground hangar stood a giant ship, Oblivion's Fist. A black warship built in secret, powered by dark matter and ancient AI systems. It had never flown. It had never spoken. Until now. The ship's core began to glow. A voice echoed from the ship's speaker system. Target verified, protocol engaged, launch sequence beginning. Lieutenant Chen looked worried. Sir, are we doing this after all these years? Dr. Hale nodded slowly. We made a promise. The Alaran helped us once, when the galaxy turned its back. If their signal reached us, it means they're gone. All of them, she whispered. Then this is war. No, Hale said. This is punishment. Hours later, the launch bay opened. The mountain split like a crack in the earth. The Oblivion's Fist rose on a tower of fire, lifting into the night sky without a sound. It didn't need a pilot. It didn't need orders. It remembered the pain inside the signal. It saw the faces of the Alaran children crying. It saw the cities burning, and it chose fire. Somewhere in deep space, the Kratal scout ship Varnax 3 picked up a strange object on their radar. It was moving fast, too fast. The scanners could not read it clearly. It didn't send a warning. It didn't respond to messages. One Kratal officer laughed. Maybe it's a rock. Then the ship exploded. No beam, no flash. Just gone. From the wreckage, a black shape passed through, silent and cold. Oblivion's Fist had arrived. On the main Kratal warship, Commander Vaccine Rowe was watching the battle feeds. They destroyed Varnax 3 in one shot, his officer said, his voice shaking. We couldn't even see the weapon. Vaccine stood slowly, his claws tapped the control panel. That wasn't a ship, he growled. That was a message. He looked at the ancient data again, records of Earth, myths, warnings. He whispered. They were real, the Deathworlders. Back on Earth, Dr. Hale stood alone in the lab. He watched as the tracking signal from the Oblivion's Fist moved through space. It was heading straight for the Kratal systems. He sighed and said softly, We didn't want war, but we don't run from monsters anymore. He looked at the stars. And we don't forget our promises. Space was quiet, but the silence did not bring peace. In the dark between stars, a storm was coming. The Kratal battle fleet floated in a defensive formation near the edge of their home system. Dozens of ships, armed, armored, and proud, waited for the unknown threat that destroyed their scout ship. Commander Vaccine Rowe stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bloodfang. His eyes were locked on the central screen. The strange signal was coming closer. Fast. Still no ID? He asked. No, sir, replied the sensor tech. No radio, no heat, no life signs, just mass. Dark matter plating, it's invisible to half our systems. Another officer said, It's like it's not a ship, more like a ghost. Commander Vaccine growled. Then we burn the ghost. At eyesight, that moment a black shape dropped out of warp. It didn't slow down, it didn't speak. Oblivion's fist had arrived. It looked like a shadow-given shape, no windows, no lights. Only cold steel and hatred. The Kratal fleet opened fire first. Hundreds of plasma bolts, torpedoes, and railgun rounds flew through space, bright as fireworks. But they hit nothing. Every shot passed through a shifting energy field around the Oblivion's fist. Some weapons bounced back. One Kratal destroyer was hit by its own torpedoes and exploded in flames. The Deathworlders ship still said nothing. Then, it fired. The weapon had no name. It was a beam, silent and invisible. Not light, not heat. It erased. The beam touched one, Kratal cruiser, and the ship was simply gone, as if it had never been there. Gasps filled the Bloodfang bridge. What was that? An officer cried. Commander Vaccine didn't answer. His mind raced. No shields had blocked it. No time to dodge. No counter. It wasn't a battle. It was a message. A second later, all Kratal ships received a transmission. It didn't use words. It showed memories, the final moments of the Alaran people, burned cities, screaming children, Kratal soldiers laughing, then a girl's face. Small, hurt, crying, but defiant. Her voice echoed, "We asked for mercy. You gave us fire. So now, we return it." The Kratal ships panicked. Half tried to flee. But the Oblivion's fist was faster. It moved like a shadow. Each time it fired, another ship vanished. No debris, no escape pods, just darkness. Vaccine Row shouted, "All ships, target the center, bring it down." But their weapons were useless. Their fear was not. On Earth, deep in the Alaskan lab, Dr. Hale and Lieutenant Chen watched the live feed. Chen whispered, "They're not fighting, they're running." Hale nodded. They should. That ship was built for only one mission. What mission? He looked her in the eye. Vengeance. Back in space, Commander Vaccine made a decision. He opened a secret channel to the Galactic Council. "This is Vaccine Row of the Kratal Empire. We are under attack. Unknown Terran weapon. We require assistance. Now." The response was slow and cold. "You were warned about Earth. You chose genocide. You will face the consequence alone." The signal ended. Vaccine slammed the console. "Cowards! They're all cowards!" Outside, the last of his fleet died in silence. Only the Bloodfang remained. Then the Oblivion's fist turned toward it. It didn't fire. Instead, it sent a direct message to Vaccine's ship. A voice spoke, calm, human, cold. "Your crimes are recorded. You will be judged." A strange energy spread through the Bloodfang's systems. Alarms screamed. Lights failed. Every screen showed the Alaran girl's face again, crying, then fading into black. Vaccine roared, "I am Kratal. I do not beg, though." Oblivion's fist replied with silence. Then the Bloodfang exploded. Oblivion's fist stood alone. Around it, space was filled with wreckage and glowing dust. The Kratal fleet was gone. The mission was not over. The ship turned and jumped to its next destination. It had more names on its list, and it was just getting started. The Kratal Empire was burning. News spread fast across the galaxy. One of the strongest fleets had vanished in minutes. No survivors, no black box. Just silence. The cause? A single unnamed ship. Some called it a ghost. Others called it a weapon from a forgotten age. But the oldest ones whispered a name with fear. Deathworlders. And they were back. Far away, on a mining station orbiting the gas giant Torvak II, workers gathered around a cracked screen. The image showed black wreckage and fire drifting through space. One worker, a skinny alien with gray scales, said, "That was the Kratal. They ruled half this sector." Another replied, "Not anymore, something worse is out there." A third voice came from the shadows, quiet and shaking. It's Earth. I was there once, before the silence. The others turned. What did you see? One asked. The old aliens' eyes were full of memory. They were kind, curious, but when one of their colonies was attacked by pirates, they didn't send police. They sent something else. It destroyed the whole pirate moon. He paused. Then they disappeared. We thought they were gone. But now, silence fell. Even the machines stopped humming for a moment, as if listening. Meanwhile, deep in space, Oblivion's fist drifted slowly toward its next target. Inside its AI core, old memories played again and again. The Alaran signal, their screams, their city in flames, the girl who activated the beacon. That moment had lit a fire in the ship's ancient systems. It did not feel hate. It did not feel anger. It only understood one word: justice. The next name on its list appeared: Zarnak Syndicate. They had helped the Kratal, supplied weapons, traded slaves, and they were next. On Earth, inside the Alaskan base, Dr. Hale reviewed a long-forgotten file. Lieutenant Chen stood beside him. This is a kill list, she said, shocked. The ship? It's running old war code. Hale nodded slowly. We didn't build it for diplomacy. We built it for moments like this. She frowned. But how many names are on that list? He didn't answer. The Zarnak Syndicate was not afraid of war. Their space station, Void Nest, floated near a dying red sun. It was armed with cannons, mines, and energy shields. The leader, Boss Urgol, a massive slug-like alien with cybernetic arms, sat in a chair made of bones. He laughed when he heard the news. One ship? One? Let it come. We'll turn it into scrap. But that night the stars around Void Nest vanished. Not because of clouds or cosmic dust, because Oblivion's fist had arrived. At first, the Zarnak forces didn't understand what they were seeing. No heat, no signal, just a dark shape moving toward them. Then the alarms rang. Object incoming. It just appeared right in front of us. Shields up, shouted Urgol. Fire everything. They fired. Dozens of missiles lit the void. Plasma beams carved through the dark. The space around the station turned into a storm of fire. Then it all stopped. The weapons melted mid-air. The shield generator sparked and died. Oblivion's fist sent one image to every screen inside the station. The girl, Elia. Tears on her cheeks. Then darkness. A single word flashed. Judgment. The station's AI begged for surrender, but the ship did not accept surrender. It opened its main weapon, something the galaxy had forgotten. A gravity cannon. The weapon crushed the center of Void Nest with a silent pulse. No explosion, no fire, just sudden collapse. Steel folded like paper. Air rushed out. The station vanished into a ball the size of a car, then turned to dust. Boss Urgol's scream was cut short. At the council hall in Narax's Prime, leaders from across the stars gathered in panic. A tall, green-skinned ambassador shouted, "Earth has gone mad. We must act." Another shouted back, "They are following an ancient law. The Alaran were under their protection." A third said quietly, "Then we failed, and now we pay." The chamber turned cold. No one wanted war with Earth. But Earth was, not answering their calls. Because Earth wasn't sending diplomats. It had sent fire. In the blackness of space, Oblivion's fist turned again. Its sensors locked onto the next name. A cold signal left the ship. Just one line of code. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Ambassadors from every race shouted across the room. Some demanded war, others begged for peace. Many were simply afraid, and no one could stop what was coming. The Oblivion's fist had already destroyed 2 major powers. The Kratal fleet, gone. The Zarnak Syndicate, erased. The Deathworlder ship didn't send warnings. It didn't ask questions. It acted like a judge, and its sentence was always the same: destruction. The head of the council, Chancellor Vereen, A tall, blue-skinned alien with 6 eyes slammed her hand on the table. "Silence!" she shouted. "This is not helping. We need to act. Now." A calm voice spoke behind her. Ambassador Leif Anders, the last human ever seen in council space, stood up. He had aged. His uniform was old, but his voice still carried weight. "You waited too long," he said. "Now justice flies with its own wings." Vereen turned to him. "You knew about this ship?" "I helped build it," Anders replied. "We hoped we'd never use it. But we also knew, if Earth ever heard a death cry from someone they swore to protect, there would be no mercy." A lizard-like ambassador hissed, "We didn't attack the Alaran. The Kratal did." Anders looked at him coldly. "You stood by, watched, profited. You are all part of the silence that killed them." Back on Earth, inside the Alaska base, Lieutenant Chen paced nervously. "Sir," she said to Dr. Hale, "the Council might try to stop us. They may even attack Earth." Dr. Hale nodded. "Let them try. The ship's AI won't turn back, not until every name is crossed off the list." Chen whispered, "What if the list ends with the Council?" Hale paused, then said quietly, "Then it ends." In the deep void of space, Oblivion's fist warped into a new system. It hovered above a small planet, Teleris 4, home to a Council research outpost. The scientists there had helped design the bioweapons used against the Alaran. They thought their work was hidden, but the ship knew. It remembered everything. Inside the outpost, alarms screamed. "Unidentified ship approaching," a tech shouted. "It's massive, cold signatures only." The lead scientist, Dr. Velma Kaur, ran to the window. Her face went pale. "No, not this. Not now." The screen turned black. Then a single image appeared. The Alaran child. Again, always her, the symbol of vengeance. Back at the Council, the ambassadors were still arguing when a new signal arrived. A planet-wide feed showed Teleris 4 as it was ripped apart. The ground folded. The sky turned red. The entire research base collapsed into itself like crushed paper. No survivors. The feed ended. Silence fell in the chamber. No one dared speak. Ambassador Anders finally said, "The Deathworlders have given you your answer. You can't stop it. You can only confess and pray." One insectoid ambassador asked, "Confess to who?" Anders stared at him. "To the dead." In space, Oblivion's fist paused. Its engines cooled. Its weapons folded back into place. It waited for the next name on the list. Inside its memory core, the list shifted. One target remained, Neuraxis Prime. The home of the Council. The heart of the silence. Back on Earth, Chen turned to Dr. Hale. "We just got the update," she said. "The ship's final destination is the Council's capital." Hale didn't respond. Chen asked, "Do we stop it?" He looked at her, tired and full of sadness. "No," he said. "We let it finish, so the galaxy never forgets again." Far above Neuraxis Prime, the stars began to flicker. The people looked up and saw their judgment coming. The skies above Neuraxis Prime turned dark. Not from clouds, not from nightfall, but from something far worse. The Oblivion's fist had arrived. It did not cloak itself, it did not hide. It floated above the capital like a shadow carved from fear, silent, watching, waiting. In the council hall, alarms blared. Chancellor Vereen shouted, "Shut down the airspace, power up the orbital cannons." But it was too late. Across the city, panic spread. People screamed, soldiers ran. Ships scrambled into the sky. Families hid underground. And the Deathworlder ship waited. Inside the ship's core, the AI focused on a single word pulsing in red. Neuraxis status. Sentence pending. It didn't feel rage. It didn't feel sorrow. It only calculated balance. The Alaran were erased. The silence was protected. Now the center must answer. Ambassador Leif Anders stood at the edge of the council tower, looking at the ship through the window. One last time. Dr. Vereen joined him. "You could stop it," she said. "You have the codes." He shook his head. It doesn't listen to humans anymore, only to history. She stepped closer. If we surrender, if we admit our failure, will it stop? Anders paused. Only one way to know. The council sent a signal. It was short. A single message. We confess. They sent it on all frequencies. All languages. Every channel. The world held its breath. The ship didn't move. Then, slowly, the skies turned red. A low vibration passed through the air, shaking buildings and glass towers. The Oblivion's fist opened its weapon bays. Inside its memory, it replayed the last cry of Alaren's beacon, the girl's voice, the flames, the broken promise, and then, judgment. But just before the ship fired, a small civilian shuttle rose from the surface. It was unarmed, barely functional. It floated toward the Deathworlder vessel like a leaf before a storm. Inside the shuttle was a child, Alaren, alive. The ship paused. Its targeting systems blinked. Its logic code froze. This couldn't be. But there she was, her blue eyes wide, her hands held up in peace. The ship scanned her DNA. Match, 97.3%, Alaren, survivor. The AI locked onto her heartbeat. She wasn't a threat. She was a message, a living one. On Earth, Chen shouted, "Sir, the ship has stopped. It's holding fire." Dr. Hale rushed to the screen. "Why?" She showed him the feed. "The child. The shuttle," he whispered. "One survived." On the council floor, Chancellor Vereen collapsed to her knees. The entire chamber fell silent. Some wept, some stared in awe. Anders spoke quietly. "One child, one hope, and the fire has paused." Back in space, Oblivion's fist powered down its weapons. Its mission file updated. Alaren's status, not extinct. Judgment, postponed. The child's voice came through a speaker. Soft, unafraid. "You heard my sister's scream. Now hear mine." She looked into the ship's cold sensors. "I forgive them." The ship froze. It had never heard forgiveness before. It only understood fire and silence. But now, something new entered its code. A choice. Oblivion's fist closed its weapons. The red glow faded. It slowly turned and jumped into the void. Gone. For now. All across the galaxy, systems came back online. Warships powered down. The people of Neuraxis looked to the stars, waiting to see if the fire would return. Inside the council chamber, Vereen asked Anders, "Is it over?" He looked up. "No," he said, "it's paused, and now we must earn our second chance." The galaxy was quiet. Not from fear this time, but from shock. The Oblivion's fist had left without destroying Neuraxis Prime. The most feared ship in the universe had paused because of a single child's voice. Her words had echoed across every system. "I forgive them." Now the galaxy waited to see what would come next. On Earth, Lieutenant Chen stared at the screen. She whispered, "We never planned for this." Dr. Hale sat beside her. His hands were shaking. "No, we planned for war, not forgiveness." The base was silent. No alarms, no orders, just questions. Then a message arrived from deep space. The AI of Oblivion's fist had sent a final log. The cry for justice has been answered. The final voice spoke not with rage, but mercy. "I will not destroy what still has hope." The message ended with one word: sleeping. In a hidden system near a dying star, the black warship entered orbit. Around a cold moon, its weapons folded inward, its engines powered down. The ship buried itself beneath the surface, silent again, waiting. At the Galactic Council, Chancellor Vereen stood before the chamber. "We must face what we did," she said. "We allowed the Alaren to be destroyed. We ignored their calls. We protected the killers because they paid us well." The room was quiet. No one interrupted. She looked around. Today we rebuild more than buildings. We rebuild truth. She pointed to a new law on the table, the Protection of the Small Worlds Act. It stated, "No world, no race, no cry for help shall ever be ignored again." The little Ellerin girl who had stopped the fire was named Sierra. She was taken to a healing world where doctors from every species cared for her. Every news channel called her the voice of peace. But she didn't smile much. Not yet. One night, a reporter asked, "Why did you forgive them?" She replied in simple words, "Because my sister didn't survive the fire. But if I scream back with hate, then the fire just grows." On Earth, Dr. Hale stood before a deep vault. Inside it were the blueprints of the Oblivion's fist. He inserted his key card. The screen asked, "Delete or archive?" He stared at it for a long time. Then he pressed archive. Just in case. Across the stars, people began to speak openly about the past. The Zarnak Syndicate's victims told their stories. The Kratal war crimes were made public. The Council offered reparations. Many races came forward to say the same words. We were silent. We were wrong. In a quiet meeting room, Ambassador Leif Anders met with Sierra. He bowed deeply to her. "You saved us all," he said. She shook her head. "No. I just reminded the fire what a tear feels like." Later that night, Anders returned to the council, tower rooftop. He looked up at the stars, searching for the black shape he once feared. But the sky was empty. Still, deep down, he knew, the Deathworlders were not gone. They were just waiting, sleeping beneath forgotten moons, watching the galaxy, listening for the next cry. And this time, the galaxy would listen too, because they had learned the price of silence, and no one wanted the fire to wake again. Years passed. The galaxy changed, no longer ruled by fear, no longer built on silence. The Alaran story, once ignored, was now taught in every academy. Sierra's voice, once soft, was now a symbol on every peace treaty, and somewhere, far beyond the trade routes and star maps, the Oblivion's fist still slept. On a lonely moon in a forgotten system, the ground held still. Beneath layers of stone and cold silence, the warship remained, its black armor wrapped in dust and time. Inside, its core glowed faintly, still alive, still listening. Its last recorded file played in cycles. Forgiveness was offered. The fire paused, awaiting reason to burn again. It had no crew, no hunger, no hate, only purpose. Back on Earth, Lieutenant Chen had been promoted to commander. She now led the Orbital Watch program, a network that scanned the galaxy for signs of danger or distress. Every day, she reviewed reports of pirate attacks, civil, wars, and new alliances, but her eyes always paused on one file, Oblivion's fist, status, sleeping. Some wanted it destroyed, some wanted it worshipped, but Chen believed something else. "It's not a weapon," she told her team. "It's a reminder." In the Galactic Council chamber, Chancellor Vereen was near retirement. Before leaving, she passed one final law, the First Voice Act. Every cry for help, no matter how small, must be heard. It was signed by 300 worlds and sealed with Sierra's handprint. Sierra, now older, walked through a garden on her homeworld, rebuilt from ash. She placed a flower beside a stone. Her sister's name was carved there. "Are you proud?" she whispered. "I stopped the fire. For now." A wind moved through the trees. She looked up at the stars and wondered if it would ever return. One day, deep in council space, a warning came in. A mining colony had gone silent. Its last message was a whisper. "They've returned, but not as before." A fleet was sent. Only one ship came back, burned silent, and on its hull was the mark of an ancient race thought extinct, the Kratal. They had survived, they had rebuilt, and they remembered the fear. Commander Chen received the alert. She looked at the report, then, slowly, inserted a key into a protected console. The words flashed on the screen. Awaken? She didn't press it. Not yet. But the button glowed softly, waiting. In the darkness beneath the forgotten moon, Oblivion's fist stirred. Its AI scanned the stars. A threat was rising. The galaxy had one. More chance to stop it alone, but if it failed, they knew what would follow. The stars watched. The warship waited. And across the galaxy, the ones who had once ruled by silence began to whisper again. But now, the galaxy whispered back, because they remembered the fire, the scream, and the judgment. That answered, and deep below the surface, the Deathworlder warship whispered too. One cry, one scream, one reason. Then I return,